All right, so we're gonna start right now, and I want to welcome everybody to this webinar. My name is Dr. Emmanuel, and I am the CEO of AGEIELTS. It's my it's my pleasure to have our guest speaker here, and she came as early as possible. I think she was the first to be here, so that was recognized, and we truly appreciate your intentionality to work with us and your time. So we're just gonna go straight because we don't want to waste too much time. So she can, I'm sure she has a whole lot to tell us. From her smile, you can tell that she's just waiting to give us all of this stuff. And we cannot wait to have them. I'm personally gonna get my pen, my books. I'll be ready to get going as well. So so this is the webinar. We plan to make today the day for the webinar, and I'm sure it is going to be a good day. So this webinar is sponsored by Age IELTS, and I'm sure that most people on this platform, you are familiar with what Age IELTS is. But I'm going to just give a bit of a summary again. So this is a platform that we have created in our passion to help people achieve their dreams, right? So it's a platform that mirrors the real IELTS exams and ensure that all test takers are really, really prepared on the test day. So we've done so well to make sure that if you go through our platform, you would definitely be ready for the exams. And also, good news, starting from the 1st of January, for everyone that gets on this platform, you are getting a video that would help you with each module of the exam. So you're not just getting the platform, you're getting a module that teaches you like listening, writing, speaking, a video that takes you through all of the process. So it's not just we giving you the platform alone. We would be there to help you with every step of the journey. And we're gonna go straight to getting this done. And so again, as you can see, there's someone with the there are two people with the three people with the camera, but there's someone giving the very, very, very good smile. And I am thrilled to introduce our guest speaker, Miss Fumilayo. She's done so much of work, but because of our time, I'm going to keep it brief. So we have here Miss Fumilayo who will be sharing invaluable insights with us on scholarship, how to get the scholarship awarded from the beginning all to the start, you know. And I had like a long written introductory, you know, what word? Someone should give me the word I'm going to use. But I guess that I'm going to save that up because of our time. But she's done a whole lot. She's currently about getting on her PhD program. And as I can have here, she's done a whole lot of research. She's helped a lot of students achieve their dreams. What she's doing right now is to help a lot of us achieve our dreams, right? And I pray that God would duly reward her and take her to the pinnacle of her career in Jesus' name. Amen. And so we're going to get on the webinar, and it's my pleasure to invite Miss Fumilayo. Please, ma'am, we are so glad to have you here with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Emmanuel. I genuinely appreciate this entire initiative, and what you're doing is just really amazing because the application process can be very overwhelming, and to have someone dedicated to helping you get through the process is just an invaluable addition to whatever application you're doing. So I really, really, really appreciate what you're doing and the entire benefits of IELTS is just amazing because it gives people like options of schools to be able to apply to. Although there are some schools that like give waivers for it, but most times there are schools that still demand it, especially schools in Europe and all of that. They really require it. And sometimes you can't tell somebody that you know how to speak English just because you can. Most times they need a certificate that can show your credibility that you can actually do it. And genuinely, there's nothing you can do want to do in any of these countries that um you won't need that certificate for. It's just really important, and I'm just grateful. So, without much ado, I'm just going to like give a brief. So, my name is Fumilola, and a first year PhD student at the University of Maryland, studying English. And I would say that my story is a story of impossible things that can actually happen because I don't have a master's master's degree, and without a master's degree, I was able to get into a straight PhD program. And I've also met people across STEM and humanities that only had BScs and they are currently doing their PhDs, especially in the US, which is something that, and it's fully funded. I am not paying any of my fees. And I also get like a stipend to be able to like cover up for like my expenses here. So it's a really remarkable opportunity that even I do not take for granted. So speaking about scholarships, there are like different kind of ways to like have funding for your dream school. There are internal scholarships and there are external scholarships. What I have is an internal scholarship, although it's not necessarily called a scholarship at first, it's called a graduate assistantship, which means that I'm also an employee of like the department and the school where I teach and I research. So I have like a teaching assistantship opportunity to teach like one class per semester, plus my other like classes that I take individually. So it's just majorly like me contributing to what is already going on in the department. And there's also an opportunity to be a research assistant where I can work with professors closely, work in specific research laboratories, and contribute to the ongoing work, research work that is going on there. So that is my own type of scholarship. But I've also like interacted with a lot of people who also got external scholarships. In a previous talk that I had a couple of friends who got the MasterCard scholarship, and also there was one MasterCard scholarship, there was one Chevening scholarship, and there's also the Commonwealth scholarship. And some of these scholarships are external, most of them are external scholarships, and what they do majorly is have an affiliation with a university, an existing university. If you go through the MasterCard website, you would see that there are specific schools you have to apply to, and it's mostly master's program, and it's fully funded. You also have to like submit your essays normally, and in some cases, you have to write more essays than someone who is applying for a graduate assistantship like I have. And they also like have existing communities that you have to be a part of. I think the major things for many of these scholarships is to look through the requirements and the criteria. For some of them, it requires good academic standing, and for some, not necessarily. There are just two major things that I've seen play out in the application process: academic standing, and if you don't have so much of that, relevant work experience is very, very, very important. I've seen people with regular grades get into amazing programs because of their work experience. And I don't have a first class. I did not graduate with a first class as an undergrad. I had a 2.1. I had a 4.25. And I was able to get into a straight PhD program because of my work experience. I mean, the English program, the language writing and rhetoric program, and I have 5 years experience as a professional writer. And that was very important and pivotal to me getting into the program, because they were looking at my grades as like, oh, yes, we know you can cope within this program. But beyond the grades, they were like, what experience do you have? What new perspective are you bringing to our department? What way of thinking can you implement in our department that would help us move further in our research endeavors? Then another thing I have to talk about a lot is volunteering. Please, if you can find a place to volunteer that is exactly in line with what you want to apply for, please do so. Please. I don't have teaching experience, but I'm in a PhD program, and PhD programs are academic programs. You can have a master's and like do industry work, but with a PhD, they are expecting you to academic career. And teaching experience is one of the things that's like a key requirement for you to get into a PhD program. So I didn't have a teaching experience, but instead of that, I volunteered. I volunteered with Junior Achievement Nigeria, and I taught digital literacy, financial literacy in secondary schools. And that was a way I could transfer my skills into the regular academic setting. So please, if you're applying for public policy or anything, look for like an organization. There are multiple NGOs in Nigeria. If you are looking for them, you will find them where you can just volunteer. Because during my interview, during my application, I realized that having good grades was not enough. I had good grades, but if I was going to talk about my good grades, I would only talk about it for like maybe just a sentence. What they are really, really invested and interested in is the experience. What do you know? What do you bring to the table? That is what they are very interested in. And that was one of the things that I put forward in my application. If you go through like my SOP samples, I think you only find like one line of, oh, she graduated as the best graduating student in her school, blah, blah, blah. Just one line. Because it's great, but it's not that great. Because they're interested in work experience. I had to include a lot of things about my writing experience, my volunteering experience. I went as far as writing the number of students that I had taught. It's in my application. I wrote that reached up to 800 students in Ondo State in Nigeria. Those are the things they want to see. And it's not very tied to grades. Then another thing I'll talk about is recommendation letters. My goodness, this is one of the things that can give you the most headaches in your application process because, and I had someone put me through, and one of the things that they kept talking about was that you don't want somebody to write a shabby application, a recommendation letter for you. Your application can be solid, but if somebody writes, oh, she's obedient, she's diligent, she's hardworking, put her in your program, it's not convincing enough. One of the things they want to know through your recommendation letter is that you have a personal relationship with your professors, with your doctors in your department, and they can show that relationship in the recommendation letters that they write for you. And that's not very easy. Someone gave me a cheat code and told me that I should have a document for each of my recommenders highlighting specific things I did in their classes. I went as far as highlighting the specific courses they taught me and the grades I had in those classes. If I had the highest grade in the class, I will write it in the document that I've sent it to them because they've taught hundreds and thousands of students. Yes, you're probably a remarkable student, but you don't expect them to remember everything that you did. They can't even remember. Some of them, you have to even be reminding them where they know you from if you don't have like a very interpersonal relationship with them. So giving them that hint, some people even went as far as writing the letters by themselves. I know people that wrote some of the recommendation letters themselves, and the professors just read through them, which is very, very key. Then another thing I have to emphasize is the role of your project supervisor. I also realized that your project supervisor is like one of the few people that can actually show like that they worked with you, especially when it comes to research. They're the one that can tell about your work ethic. They're the ones that can tell about your research experience. They can tell about some of your preferences. And you want them to be able to project this when they write recommendation letters for you. Then in some cases, especially for a PhD and the type of PhD you're applying for, academic references are preferred over professional references. It's better for you to get most of your references from school. Only use a professional reference if you don't have any choice. And make sure that you really have to make sure that you really don't have any choice before you use that professional reference. An academic reference is very key. Then you can also be somewhat choosy and picky about the kind of people you want to write recommendation letters for you. I'm very sorry, but during my recommendation letters, I'm like, what, 2 professors and 1 doctor is writing a recommendation letter for me because they want to see the credibility of the people recommending you. They want to be able to Google these people and their research work and their research experiences can show up. And for me, that was important. So I did not mind. I had people I was messaging for months, and then please give them a lot of notice. If you want a recommendation letter, message them like 3 months before the time you need it. Just be reminding them. If you have to be sending Happy New Month messages, if you have to be sending reminders, just make sure that you are like a thorn in their flesh because they're writing recommendation letters for a lot of students. A lot. Any remarkable professor or doctor in a Nigerian university has a lot of recommendation letters that they cannot even remember what they're writing about sometimes. You want to be that student that stands out. 3 months before, I'm sending you messages. I even went as far as traveling back to my university to go and see a particular professor. I wanted him to remember me. You have to remember me so that you'll be able to write something good for me. I went there and I did not go empty-handed, of course. You cannot go empty-handed. Go and see your professor or your doctor after many years. No, they are just basic things. And I went there, I reminded him, and he remembered. And we had conversations. I even asked him about his current research. Because you want to have that relationship. And even after then, I still try my best to keep those relationships functioning. Then another thing that my husband helped me with was applying for application fee waivers. I did not apply to any school that did not give me a waiver. I applied to only 2 schools and I did not pay application fees for any because I'm a Nigerian where they have to see money from in like really if I'm paying $70 for application fee and I'm applying to 3 schools, $70 times 3, that's $210. And I convert it to Naira. We already know what's happening. So I also had to like find ways to like cut costs. And that's one thing that I'm absolutely grateful for that my husband gave me like tips about. Then the last one I would like to talk about is my interview session. Before I got admitted, I had an interview session in January. I applied December 1st. I got interviewed January this year. And the interview is such a pivotal stage of the application process. And I can't lie to you. If you tell me to look for like the transcript I used to prepare for the interview, I still have it in my Google Docs. I created mock questions for myself. And I was imputing answers, 1 minute answers into all of the questions that I wrote down. My school was gracious enough to give me an hint or an idea of the kind of questions they would ask. And they actually asked me those questions. Yeah, my school was like that. So what I did was prepare. And please, I realized that to be over-prepared is better than to be under-prepared. You want to know every single thing as much as possible. As much as possible as even knowing like the bio of the people that want to interview you is that bad. And there are a lot of professors. At least have an idea of the kind of thing that they are doing. What are the research things that the department is doing that is in line with your interest? You want to talk about something like that. What research laboratories do they have? What professors are in charge of those laboratories? What are the specific strengths of the department that aligns with your strength, and how are you going to present that? For example, a practical example is when I was talking in my interview, one of the things that I really wanted to do was to research, and that's what I'm currently doing, research the intersection between technology and language. I made sure to find out the tech laboratories within humanities that the department is affiliated with. And I mentioned one of the laboratories. I mentioned the Maryland Institute of Technology and Humanities. Luckily for me, one of the people on my panel was a founding member of the institute. And that was one of the things that really helped me gain favor. And immediately it turned into a conversation of how she started the institute and motivations behind the institute and all of that. If I had not done my research, something like that would never have happened. I went as far as watching YouTube videos of my department professors on a subject about artificial intelligence. And I quoted it in my interview. I'm like, I worked hard and I must show you. I researched and I must be able to show it. And sometimes you can know a lot and you might not still be able to communicate it well, which is another thing that can be an issue, which was why I did mock interviews. There's nobody I did not do mock interviews with. I did mock interviews with the professor that helped me prepare. I did mock interviews with my best friend. I did mock interviews with my husband. I'm like, what did you see? How can I put it better? How can I present it? My SOP too, my statement of purpose, at least 3 or 4 people read my statement of purpose. My writing sample, 5 people read my writing sample. One of my undergraduate supervisors was the last person that read my writing sample. Two of my senior colleagues read my writing samples, I think two or three, and they wrote edits, and I took those edits seriously and I implemented them. The application process is not a do-it-yourself process. There are a lot of things that you think you know that you don't know that well. And that's one of the things you start to realize when you start applying. I wrote an SOP as a content writer. I mean, I've been writing for long. And in my mind, I've written SOPs for people too that they used to travel. Now it was my turn to write my own SOP. And somebody is leaving like 20 comments on my SOP. Then you will know that there's a lot I still do not know. And I really enjoyed and appreciated that process because it did a lot to shape the kind of application. When I got here, I got to a point and I'm like, it's not like I don't know that I can be here, have the resources, I have the at least under God, I have the mental capacity to be able to do this. But when I saw the other people that got accepted, I was like, how did I enter? Because there were a lot of people that had previous affiliations with the department. One person in my class was an intern at one of the research laboratories in my school. One other person did a master's here, and some of the people that even read the SOPs were like professors in the department. So when people were not telling me their affiliations, I'm like, wait, oh, I did not know anybody here. And I'm here with a bachelor's degree in a PhD program, a 5 years PhD program. And people that have a master's degree are also using that same 5 years that I'm using as someone with a bachelor's degree. There's only a difference in the amount of coursework that we are doing, which is just really, really interesting to me how far we can go if we have a very, very solid application. The application is solid. There are a lot of merit-based systems around Nigeria, outside Nigeria rather, that recognizes the strength, the power, and the unique perspective that your own research plays, and they will reward you for it. They are ready and eager to reward you for it. So please, please, and please, nobody should ever apply for anything shabbily. I applied to only 2 schools, but I researched up to 20 schools, even more than 20 schools. And I'm like, does this school align with my research? Does this school align with my interests? Do they have professors within that department that is doing the kind of work that I want to do? Because sometimes, if there's no professor that is doing a work that you want to do, it can reduce your chances of being accepted. Because when they are looking at you as an intake, they're also thinking, what kind of mentor, what kind of person can be a supervisor to this new intake? And if you don't have someone that aligns with your previous work, it can be very difficult for you to get accepted. For example, I did a research on the University of Florida. Their English department is heavily based on creative writing. And I don't do fiction writing. I don't do poetry writing, which makes it a wrong fit for someone like me. And I did not apply at all because I knew that the school and the kind of work that they are doing does not align with what me I'm doing. And it also means that they would rather pick someone in a creative writing sector than pick me, because that's the resources, the kind of resources that they have. I'm interested in technology work in humanities. Not a lot of schools is doing that. And that narrows my search. I have to look for schools doing that specific thing with track record of doing it and professors that are recognized for doing it while I apply. So those were some of the perspectives I had while I was applying. Those were some of the perspectives, like the professors, the department, the people, the community. I was interested in the community. I mean, the DMV area, that is Delaware, Maryland, Virginia area. And that area has the highest number of Black people within America. That was important for me. I did not want to be in a class where I'm like the only Black person. I wanted to see other Nigerians, other Ghanaians, it mattered to me, and it was part of the things that I did while I was researching for schools. I was looking through, I went so far as looking at their graduate assistants, people that were already in other programs, the same program as me, rather, and checking, okay, how many Nigerians do they have in this department? It was that serious for me. If I see like 2 Nigerians, I'm like, okay, they will understand the specificity of me being an international student. Because you also want a school that understands what it means to be an international student, because we have peculiar situations. Number one, they have to process your I-20 faster because of your visa process. You want to be able to do your interview like 2 or 3 months or even earlier than the time you'll be moving out, because the US embassy is another story for another day. So you want a school that understands the urgency of it. But if it's a school that's never dealt with international students before, if they send your I-20 to you in July, you are going next year, because there's no way you will find, it's very hard for you to find a date between July and August that you have to leave the country. So that was important for me. Then sometimes there are also students that have more understanding of you being an international student than the school itself. And you want to have access to those kind of people for information. Before I applied at all, I'd already reached out to somebody in my department. I'd sent him an email. There is no school I applied to that I did not email at least one graduate student before I even applied. I'm like, what is this school like? What tips can you give me on getting accepted? Those were questions I was asking. I sent lots of emails. When I even now got accepted, they were like, hey, I know you. People were already like having conversations about one Nigerian girl that was emailing them all the time. Because this place, if you don't ask questions, if you don't take initiative, people will assume that you know it and you don't know it. So you'd rather take initiative, rather be the one in people's DMs. Even graduate coordinators, if you check my email now, at least we see 10 schools where I've emailed graduate coordinators for fee waivers. I've emailed all of them before I even start the application, so that I even know how much I'm going to spend on it. Those were things that were very important for me. Grades are great. If you have like a first class, if you have a 2-1, it definitely increases your chances of being accepted. But I've seen people with first class that still did not get accepted because their work experience was not great. And they will pick someone with a 2-1, a 2-2 because of the work experience over them. America is just a very interesting location like that. So that's all I have to say today. And I really hope that you were able to like gain a lot of things that you can implement in your own application process, in your own application journey, because it's a lot of work, I won't lie to you, but it has so many rewards. Thank you.
Wow, that was really beautiful. I was hoping you wouldn't stop and you just keep going. But I'm happy I got this on recording so I could go back as well to listen to it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I hope we've learned something and we're reading things down. I think she was stressing more about work experience, you being prepared and so much more. So and I was trying as well to see if it's possible for me to send in our LinkedIn profile so you could possibly connect with her. Yes, we're going to go into a time of questions. I can see a lot of people are trying to ask questions. So we have some time for questions right now. Please feel free to ask the questions, relating to scholarship, application processes, and anything else you think would really benefit you. We will try to take as much questions as possible in the next 10 minutes if we have such questions. Like we said, we want it to be really, really value packed. So you can go ahead, raise up your hand, and then I would just call you and you can ask your questions, and she would be so glad to answer some of those questions. And before going to the questions, I would like to recognize the presence of our husband. From what you heard from her, he's been so supportive. So you could just say hi or mute yourself and say hi to everyone in here so we could just appreciate you for the good work you did as well.
Hello, Doctor. Hi, everyone. This is Tolu Alope Dada.
Good to
Good
good.
to be here. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, sir, for the support. Yeah, so we'll go straight to the questions. if you have questions, please just raise your hands. And I saw someone raising or trying to ask some questions. Yes, anyone with questions? Just you could really, really make do of this time. Yes, please. I think you're the only one raising up your hand, sir. Good to have you. Can you unmute yourself, sir, and just speak and ask your questions?
Right, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Yes, while she was talking, she talked about work experience and also volunteering. I was wondering if she could recommend any websites or organizations that offer online volunteering opportunities in Nigeria.
Thank you very much for that question. Online volunteering experience. I don't know about online volunteering experience, but I can recommend Junior Achievement Nigeria. That's where I volunteered heavily at. And there are things you can do online as like contributions, maybe like community management and all of that. But most of their programs are usually physical programs. And for me, the idea behind the volunteering for me was to have teaching experience where I can teach children physically. So the physical aspect, because of the way Nigeria functions too, sometimes being there physically actually has like the most impact rather than online. But if you still want to do something online, there's definitely something for you to do at Junior Achievement Nigeria. So I think you could look into them, and maybe you could also reach out to me on LinkedIn. I can give you like a direct contact of some of the people at Junior Achievement Nigeria. They'll be very happy to have you.
Okay, great, great, great.
Thank you.
Also, I would try to speak with my team and we would try to pop in some. I think I've seen few of those um volunteering online, platforms. So we would try to pop those in on the group chat as well. Maybe it would help somebody find something. But you can also connect with her on LinkedIn. I would try to pop that in a second. I think I have it. So I'm going to put that in the chat for anyone that wants to get connected. It's important to get the right people on your journey to achieving success. So anyone else with the question? Anyone else? It's gonna go off soon. I'm just gonna wait for 1 more minute. Come on, guys, just ask your question now. In the next few seconds, we would definitely um um just round this up. All right, so if no one is having questions, yes,
Good evening, everyone.
good evening.
Thank you very much for the session. I really appreciate it. So, my own question is just about the grade because I convoke with a 2-2. So, I don't know how that can actually work. I've seen so many opportunities, but then they are always saying a 2-1 or a first class. So, I don't know how that can really work out for me. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you so much for that question. It's a very good question. I have to tell you, I've seen people with tutu that have scholarships. I've seen them have scholarships. And I think that's why I was emphasizing on the work experience part, because work experience can make up for the grades part aspect of your application. Then another thing you should also pay attention to is converting your grade. If you are in a Nigerian university with a 5.0 like grading system, you would want to look into some of the applications you can use. Can't remember the name of the application I used now, but I would send the information in to convert your transcript from a 5.0 GP to a 4.0 GP. When I converted my 4.25, I think I eventually now had this 3.63 on a 4-point scale. So sometimes looking at your grade on a 4-point scale, especially if you're applying to the US, can actually make you see that you might even have more chances than you thought. Because let's say you have like a 3 point something or around that. If you convert it, you could also still have something that can still be really workable
Okay,
for
I had
the
a
application.
3.44 actually.
3.44. That's enough. That's more than enough. I don't know about you, but that's more than enough for me. If you have a solid work experience and you look through the school, you can get in. I'm seeing a lot of things that are shaking the norm of what scholarships can be, especially when it comes to grades. If your work experience is solid, if your research is solid, like your research of the school, if your application is amazing, they won't ignore you just because you have a tutu, honestly. If you put in a solid application, you have a chance. And also you can look at schools. What some of the things I do online is to look at schools that are more flexible about grades and that have scholarships. So for example, I think I was looking at this YouTube video about a guy that was saying how he got into a scholarship with a third class. It's on YouTube. I Google those kind of things where I'm like, top schools in America that takes a third class, top schools in America that takes a second class. You'll be sure that there are a lot of them. And you just have to go through their information, see what their funding situation looks like. For some of those ones, you just have to do a lot of work to sift the ones that can provide you with scholarships from the ones that require you to pay, because sometimes paying school fees in America, it's easier for you to get into like the UK and Canada if you have to pay your school fees. But for the US, the embassy favors funded graduates over graduates that are not funded because the school fees is a lot. My school fees is currently like $40,000 per semester. And they are wondering how you can afford that kind of money as a Nigerian if you are not funded, unless you put a very good case or you have loans for it. So that's some of the things. So you just have to sift through the school. Is the school funding you? Is the school not funding you? But there are schools in America that your grade can enter conveniently, as long as you have like work experience, leadership experience. Yes, that's what I did not talk about. Leadership experience. Please, if you were class rep in Nigeria, or you were in a faculty position, or you were in a fellowship position, I use my fellowship position as my leadership experience. Very important too. So they're looking at you holistically, not necessarily from the perspective of your grade. And you want to make sure that if you feel like your grade is not so great, make sure that every other thing about you is outstanding. That's how you can push through with your application. But I think 3.44 still works, honestly. That's just my perspective. Thank you.
Right, thank you so much for that insightful answer. I think she's answered the question perfectly. And who has got another question?
I've seen another question in the comment section. How is the work experience measured? Must the work experience be based on the course you're applying for? That's a very, very good question. So it's better to have work experience that is directly related to your work course of study. For example, if you're in engineering, what engineering-based company or engineering-based job role have you had before? That matters a lot. But in the case where you don't have that work experience, there are two ways around it. You can get the work experience by volunteering somewhere, a startup, and you can just walk around how long you want to do volunteer for and the flexibility of the volunteering. But people like free things in Nigeria. And if you decide to like work for free, but it's not necessarily free because you're doing something for yourself too, but just a short while or do it online. It depends on how you want to do it. It matters. Another way you can do it is look at your current experience and identify the transferable skills for the course you're applying for. They are like things that you have in what you're currently doing that you can always adjust to fit what you want to do. It might not be a direct correlation, but they are like, it could be work habits, it could be your work ethic, it could be your attitude to work. Just some of those things, you can convert them to suit the course that you're applying for. But most times, I really, really recommend that you have work experience that is directly related to the course you're studying. But in the case where you don't have it, I still did it for somebody recently. She did not have direct experience. And I went to ChatGPT. I'm like, this is the current work experience. This is what we're applying for. What skills can we transfer from this job role to this job role? And it gave me a list. And you can make a case with it. Also, please don't use ChatGPT to write application. I feel like I have to say that. Please don't use it. They're interested in your personal story, your personal life trajectory, your personal life process. ChatGPT can proofread for you. It can give you ideas, but please don't write with it. I can bet that they will catch you. I'm 100% sure that they will catch you if you use ChatGPT to write everything from scratch. So that's my answer about the work experience. I really hope that's answered your question.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I just remember the first time I did apply for a job as well. This was me in medical school, and applying for a job as a regular Nigerian, you just, where am I starting from? Where's my CV? What have I done with my life? So these are questions that pop up in our mind at different times, but you've been doing something. You've been a leader in church, you've been at your mom's school, you've been at your mom's shop. You've been the one coordinating things and managing things at your mom's shop. That's the managerial role. So for everything we do in our daily activities, these are skills, these are portfolios that, when channeled to the right direction, would make a good case for anybody. Nigerians, we are born to, I don't want to use that word hustle, because we don't hustle, we thrive. But things we do on a daily basis, would really help you come up with that CV, that portfolio, that, whatever you're trying to build on. So it's actually important to just believe in yourself and put out what God has put inside of you. And I hope that really helps. And I don't know if anyone got any other question. If you got questions for her, and if you have any question, because we are going to bring this to an end right now. All right, if no one got questions, would like to appreciate our guest speaker for taking her time. In fact, she was the first person to be here. And one thing about me, I note the little things, and for me, I'm so grateful, and I'm sure everyone on this platform is grateful. And we've prepared a special award that's going to be delivered to her for a very, very insightful, moment. So much of value was shared. If you truly pay attention, she did a very good job. And for everyone else, please stick around on the group chat. We will be having monthly webinars, right? And we want to just help everybody achieve their dreams. This era of jackpot, people don't know where to start from. What can I do? And so much more. And you got a whole lot of things inside of you. Information is the key that changes everyone's life. I believe that. So that's what we are doing here at AGEIELTS. We're not just particular about IELTS alone, but the holistic change of everyone. So please stick around on the group chat. And if you have further questions, please do well to reach our customer support team. You have the number, leave them a message, and we'll try to connect you with anyone that would really be of help to you. And we would like to appreciate everyone that has joined this webinar. And just 1 second, if I'm not missing any other thing, right? Yeah, we would like to appreciate everyone that has joined this webinar. And also, guys, starting from January 1st, we discovered that, a lot of people they've been reaching out and talking about the price of Agile. It's just a giveaway price. So starting from January 1st, we have decided that we're going to increase the price for the platform. There's so much of good going on the platform, and we wanted people to take advantage of it at the initial stage. But now, starting from January, to be precise, I think the 1st of January, I need to meet up with the team and we decide on that. We are going to be increasing the price for Agile, because we are not just giving you the platform, we are giving you a tailored video, for each of the modules to help you get to where you truly want to get to. So please feel free to drop our customer support feel free to drop our customer support any message if you want to get the platform, if you need some information, and so much more. And also, before we leave, I would like to share her LinkedIn profile. I think that would help somebody. You can always connect with her. So let's get this sent to the chat. Just give me a second. I'm going to send to everyone. Just 1 second. 1 second. Yeah, so that's the LinkedIn profile. You could get connected with her. And also, um, I'm what has happened to me over the years is that my Yoruba pronunciation has disappeared a bit. So I'm trying not to pronounce her surname, so I didn't get it wrong, but please, you pardon me. So you can connect with her on LinkedIn, and she would be ready to connect with you as well. As you can see, she's very humble, cheerful, happy, and yeah. And I'm so impressed. Thank you for joining us, and thank you everyone else for um connecting with us. And Miss Charity, do you have anything to say if you can speak right now? If you have
No, sir, I don't have anything to say.
uh,
Thank you so much, Fumilola. Like I was actually speechless. I was like, wow, wow, wow. This my the way she was just dishing the word. I see Jesus. This is more than a free gift. Actually, she has given so much, and I pray God increases you. And beyond now, we are looking forward to having more webinar with you. Honestly, this is more than what I expected. Honestly, it's just more than what I can say right now. So thank you so much for honoring our invitation. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Miss Fumilola. I've done so well not to pronounce your name good, but please pardon me, pardon me, pardon me. And I know that I would get you right next time. Like you said, we hope to invite you more often to be around us and share with us this well of wisdom and experience we've gathered over the years. And yeah, that's the end of the webinar. Feel free to connect with us on AGEIELTS. You have the link. You have our customer support. We are ready to help you. If we don't have the resources, we would find the resources for you. That's what we do. So we are trying to help everyone achieve their dreams and get to your God-given potentials. Thank you for joining the webinar. We are so, 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 so happy to have everyone here. We appreciate your time. We know time is money. We know you are intentional to be here and so much more. We recognize that. We appreciate that. And we hope to see you in our 2025 January webinar. I think that will be something special again. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Ms. Fumilola. And thank you to our kind husband for, also joining us as well. Have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye, everybody.